Hi, Muskrat Jim here. Today we're going to try to make bannock using the inner bark of the birch tree for flour. We're going to harvest it and grind it all up to make a flour. And then we're going to use hardwood ash, again from birch, to act as a leavening agent in the bannock when we bake it on a stick. So stay tuned and we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to harvest about 1 cup of inner bark to go in our recipe. The brown bark is actually semi-dried because it came from a dead tree. The tree was alive last year, but it was dead. And then this is actually from a live tree, and it's not crumbling up very well. So it really does have to be dried, I think, in order to try to grind a flour out of it. It takes a fair amount of work to grind this up, and I'm just hoping that the bannock will turn out and be tasty. Because birch sap is really quite nice. It's really watery, but it's got a mild sweet flavor to it. This has sort of a nutty, kind of a musty, nutty sort of a smell to it. I think that's just about good enough there. What I'll do is I'll pick out all the big pieces and just use the powdered stuff for the bannock. Because we have a ban against open fires here in the province, the only way I'm going to get hardwood ash is if I burn it here on my barbecue. So this is hardwood ash and some charcoal from birch bark and birch twigs. What I'm going to do is put about a teaspoon of that in with the birch bark, and I'm going to grind that up, and then I'm going to add just enough water to hold it together. I just dumped what was in that pan into here, and I'm just going to grind that right into the birch bark flour. And then once that's fine and well mixed, I'll add a little bit of water, a bit at a time, just to try to make a dough out of this. Just grinding the ash in with the birch bark. Some of the ash wasn't actually burnt all the way down, so I have bits of charcoal in here as well. I read once that eating a little bit of charcoal can aid in indigestion, so I'm not really afraid of eating that stuff. And besides, when you barbecue something, you usually get little black bits all over your food anyway. A little bit at a time in there. Mix that around into a mud. That might be enough water. Let's see what I can do here. Yep, that looks like mud, alright. Pour a few in there. Give it some color. Save some of the raspberries for later because I really like raspberries. Just lightly stir that in. Okay, so I'm going to cut the video, grab a sheet of tin foil and my barbecue lighter, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to cook it on tin foil. to make sort of a boat shape like this to hold the contents. Okay, it stood in place. A little bit of a breeze up there. Just going to try to compress it a little bit here. Lighter. Kind of running low on butane in my lighter. Okay, so we'll let that cook for a little bit and we'll see what we get. Okay, let's take a look. Well, it's definitely not sticking together like a dough. Let me just turn off the barbecue here. Just going to adjust the camera a little bit. So anyway, as you can see, it's still quite crumbly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try this and see how it goes. The raspberries taste good. I'll give it that much. The birch bark though really has no flavor at all. It's got the consistency of grape nut cereal. It's definitely not a bread, so I won't be able to call it Bannock. I think if you had some flour, you can use dried birch bark, crushed dried birch bark, ground, to extend your flour, like 50-50 or whatever. It would almost make it like, I don't know, whole grain flour or something. The seeds in it. But by itself it's rather dry, powdery. The flavor is not totally disagreeable. Like some wild foods have a really bad flavor. And although you can eat it, it's really, really strong. Like the inner bark of a pine. But anyway, I think the next time I cook with birch bark, I will cut the green birch bark into thin strips and then boil them until they're a little bit pliable, so you can actually chew them. It might take a considerable amount of boiling to soften it up though, but it's something I'm going to try. Anyway, this has been Muskrat Jim trying toasted birch bark with berries. Something good to know about, but probably wouldn't want to eat it every day. Unless it was like 70% berries or something. Anyway, like I said, it's like grape nuts. Or like my wife said, dirt. Catch you in the next video.